One final away game and a need for one more big moment. Over 11,500 miles have been travelled this season. There's been disappointment, there's been despair, even delirium at times. But could it be a day to remember today? Argyle are at Millwall for the final away game of the season. Championship safety could be achieved today, but also, if the worst were to happen, Argyle could also end up in the bottom three. So much is at stake, so much riding on this game. How are your nerves, Argyle fans? It has come down to the final two matches. Hello, good afternoon, I'm Alex Woods, and once again it is a huge day for Plymouth Argyle in their quest to secure their status in the Championship. Last weekend's defeat to fellow strugglers Stoke City may well have burst the balloon just a little bit, but there could well be celebrations towards the end of today, depending on how other results go. Lots of permutations, lots of things that have to happen. What matters though, Argyle still have it in their hands and will want to keep it that way, of course. But in order to do so, the Pilgrims have to beat Millwall away. Lots riding on today, as you can see, and you can follow all of the action with us here live on Argyle TV. Match passes can be bought right now from our website. Audio match passes cost just £2.50, while overseas streaming passes are available with your international subscription. Right. Coming up between now and kickoff at 3 p.m, Kevin Nancekivell and Joe Edwards talk about the focus in the camp ahead of this crunch game here today. We'll also be taking a look back at some big celebrations 20 years ago this week. We'll also be hearing from Millwall manager Neil Harris, who of course has worked wonders at the Den since he was reinstated in February, guiding them to safety last weekend with a win against Sunderland. But helping us guide us through all of today's permutations, all of the action here on Argyle TV is former Argyle women's captain Katie Middleton. Katie, how are your nerves?
Frayed, I think, after last weekend's result. It was such a massive result against Leicester 2 weeks ago. Disappointing result last weekend, but it's still in our hands, as you said. Lots to play for still, and two massive games coming up now.
Absolutely, and we're going to start by taking a look at our team news because there have been a few changes for both sides. As ever, we will start with how the Pilgrims line up this afternoon. And first thing to highlight here for you, 3 changes from last week's 3-0 defeat on the road at Stoke City. Hardy and Forshaw drop to the bench. Wayne starts, as does Lewis Gibson and Ashley Phillips in the defence. And perhaps a question, an observation, Katie, that you made first and foremost. Does this look like we might well see a change in formation today?
Yeah, I think it does. When you look at the players that are starting, particularly the defensive players, you've essentially pretty much got 4 centre-backs playing. So I think, we possibly might revert to a back 4. And I think they might push Joe Edwards in to the midfield. I think that was an area last week where we struggled and got essentially out-fought for a lot of the game. So I think putting Joe in there will give them that extra little bit of nous, and we know that Joe likes to get stuck into a tackle and can potentially break things up a little bit better. And I think that's going to be really important today. He's going to have a big role if that is where he plays. So I think we will potentially see a bit of a change of formation today.
Absolutely, and you were quick to point out the 4 centre-backs as well. Ashley Phillips reinstated to the starting lineup. What's the thinking there, do you think, in terms of what are we trying to stop Millwall from achieving? We know they're particularly good at the set pieces. We'll look at that later on in the build-up. But is it as simple as that, you think, trying to stop those?
I think so. I think the way Millwall play, they like to play long ball a bit more. They're not a side that necessarily get the ball down and play through the thirds, play out from the back. They'll often play from back to front quickly. And it's about winning those first balls today and having those four big guys on the pitch will potentially give you a better option of doing that. Like you said, they're dangerous from set pieces. I think they're up there in terms of how many they've scored from set pieces in the league this season. So something that they will definitely be aware of and will have hopefully worked on during the week to try and eliminate those risks as much as possible. But again, from crosses and open play, they take chances. It's not the amount they necessarily cross, but when they do, they're clinical. So it's trying to defend against that as much as we can. I think Dan Scar's been really good at that since he's come back into the side in terms of breaking things up, getting his head on crosses. So that's going to be a big area today that Argyle are going to need to be better at than they were last weekend.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a look perhaps how the home side will line up today then for Millwall. A couple of changes for them from their win last week against Sunderland. As we can see here, Tom Bradshaw and Duncan Watmore are the two that come in. Obafemi and George Honeyman drop to the bench. But this is a team in form, isn't it, Katie? 3 wins on the spin. Of course, securing their own safety last Saturday. You never quite know what that means for a game like today where we're playing for everything and they've already secured it. But what are you expecting to see from this team?
Yeah, like you say, I think it's really tricky. It could go one of 2 ways. Either they take the foot off the gas and it gives us that opportunity to maybe get ahead in the game, and Millwall have been notoriously bad at if they've gone behind. I think only 3 times this season when they've gone behind, they've managed to get anything out of those games, and that's been 3 draws. So I think for Argyle, we'll want to get on the front foot. But, Millwall have got players who are dangerous. Like you say, they're on a good run. They've won their last 3 games. Since Neil Harris has come in, he's essentially changed the way they play, made them difficult to beat. Defensively, they've been pretty solid recently, not conceded many goals. So for me, it's about how Argyle can counteract that. Can we get our dangerous players on the ball in dangerous areas? We haven't seen that much of Morgan Whittaker recently in terms of his goal scoring prowess and areas where he can be dangerous and hurt opposition. Ben Wane's obviously got a big opportunity today with Ryan Hardy dropping to the bench, and it's a real big chance for him to show what he can do and potentially get on the score sheet. You look at Millwall side, they bring in Duncan Watmore. He scored their winner last week. He's a dangerous player. He's played in the Premier League and got a lot of pace about him, and is going to be a tricky customer. So it's going to be a difficult game today. What Millwall we see, who knows? But what we do know is that we need to see a really positive Argyle.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe just one more player to pick out from their squad is Ryan Leonard, who of course will be well known to those here for the from a Pilgrim's persuasion at least. The Plymouth Argyle Academy man went through the seam. I think 2007 he came through the ranks under Paul Mariner. I think he had a couple of appearances. Had stints at Southend. I think he went to Sheffield, but he's been at Millwall since 2018, and he's really established himself in that defence, hasn't he? So we could probably expect to see him put in a shift today. Yeah,
and I think he's, obviously a local boy from down around these parts. His dad actually managed us at the ladies' side as well for a few years, so I know the Leonards quite well, and I think it's obviously great for Ryan to be playing against his hometown club. Like you say, he was at Southend for a long time. He seems to go to clubs and he plays regularly. He once he gets into the side, he manages to keep himself there. He's been a really consistent performer over the years. So, will probably line up in that right back slot today, as he has done recently for Millwall. So, one to obviously look out for and hope he doesn't perform too well against his boyhood side.
Absolutely. And maybe just one final quick comment before we move on to our other features as part of our build-up. But look, last week wasn't good enough, was it? I mean, if we're going to be blunt about it, it wasn't a performance to remember. How can this team look to put that behind them, focus on today? How important is the start they make going to be against Millwall?
Yeah, I think it's massive today, and we've got 2,000 fans going there to cheer them on and to try and get behind them, as we did last weekend at Stoke. they had absolutely nothing to cheer about last week, and I think it's important for the players. They obviously know what's at stake today. As it gets closer and closer to the end of the season, the stakes get higher and higher, and you're running out of games to perform in. So essentially, today needs to be that day where we see a massive performance. The guts that we saw here at Home Park against Leicester, that Friday night game where it was, incredible atmosphere, and the players responded to that. So it's about very much doing the same today. As I said, getting on the front foot really early. Can we get ahead in the game? Can we be really positive? And like I spoke about before, can we try and win those battles all over the pitch? And essentially, it's about playing for pride and, playing for the shirt that you're playing for. These players know how important it is playing for this club, how important it is that this club stays in the Championship. And there's no better chance to do that than going on and putting a performance today at Millwall.
Absolutely. And of course, that will have been the message, no doubt, from Neil Dewsnip and Kevin Nancekivell through the week this week. And in fact, we caught up with Kevin Nancekivell earlier with Argyle TV. He's been upbeat, he's been in positive mood, speaking about the side's chances as they head into this crunch game today against Millwall.
It's in our hands, so if you'd have said that with 2 games to go, we'd have been delighted. So we know what we've got to do. We've had a good week preparing for it, and we're looking forward to it.
We obviously went into last weekend's game on a huge high, beating Leicester here at Home Park. And if we fast forward to now, 7 days on, we're coming into the next game off the back of a defeat. But how, if anything, does that change what you do in terms of preparation?
Not really. It doesn't really change the preparation. We prepare for every team individually anyway, so that doesn't change. I suppose it just refocuses us. The adrenaline and the emotion of the Leicester game, we didn't replicate that when we played Stoke last week, so we want to put that right and see if we can get closer to the Leicester performance than the Stoke one.
Yeah, and we have seen in the last few weeks, haven't we, the ability to show that sort of character. 7 points picked up from those 4 games is a pretty decent tally, isn't it?
Yeah. Listen, I don't think anyone can question the lad's character. They've shown that season after season and game after game this season especially. So that won't be in question. We'll make sure that they're up for it and they're ready for it, which they are. And we just got to make sure we control our emotions and put all our effort and energy into getting the points.
How much is just getting the job done being spoken about? How much is that being brought up? Like, could it be seen as a distraction that it is, or not?
Yeah, it is being brought up, but not overdone. It's the next game, and it's the next opportunity to get 3 points. If we get 3 points, that might not be us done anyway, so we can't look at it like that. We just want to win the next game. The next game's Millwall away. We're in good form, so we know we've got a really tough game coming up. But like I said, we're looking forward to it. We're all prepared, and we're ready to give it a good go.
Let's talk about Millwall, because, like you say, they are in great form and are now safe as well. They've managed to claw themselves clear. Does that make preparing for it any different? Do you see the game being different because of that factor?
No, not really. No, knowing Neil and his staff and the way Millwall play, I don't think that's in their culture or in their environment to do anything but what they do. So no, we're expecting a really tough game, a full house, backed by our supporters, which would be fantastic atmosphere again, like they were last week at Stoke. So we just want to repay them, and like I said, just get 3 points or something to come back with.
Yeah, and I was going to mention the supporters because again, the allocation was sold out.
Yeah,
we speak about the travelling support a lot, but last weekend against Stoke was a prime example of them showing so much and not having anything to cheer about. So
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the noise when we came out at Stoke, luckily they were at our end, so sort of the tunnel as we came out, our supporters were right there, and yeah, the noise was loud, really, really loud, and it was fantastic. We let them down. We know we let them down. We didn't give them the performance that we wanted to give. It wasn't because we didn't care or we didn't try. It just didn't happen on the day. So we're desperate to put that right. And I know that the supporters will be shouting as loud as they were at Millwall, at Stoke. So I haven't got to ask them to do that because I know they will. And hopefully we can repay them this time.
This is a difficult question to answer, I imagine. But if I were to put a crystal ball in front of you and you were to look into the future, how is this season going to end?
Well, listen, that's a difficult question to answer, like you've just said. So all I can say is it won't be for a lack of effort, desire, energy and enthusiasm and passion that will try and keep us across the line and keep us in the Championship. I can promise everybody that. What will be after that, but it won't be for the lack of trying, I can promise you that.
And that was Kevin Nancekivell speaking to us here at Argyle TV in the build-up to today's match. Look, he says all the right things, doesn't he? Of course, you heard they're desperate to put last week's defeat right. But his energy, his enthusiasm, how infectious can that be on the players? How does that rub off on the squad?
Yeah, listen, Nance is a really likeable guy, and I don't think there's anyone who's involved with Argyle who's got a bad word to say about him. He's certainly Argyle through and through, and I think the players have got to take that energy and, like I say, that drive that he brings and try and replicate that as much as they can in the games. And, obviously since Nance and Neil have taken over again, results generally have been pretty good. We had obviously a run of taking 7 points from 9 games, and that infectious enthusiasm that they have has certainly driven the players on in a sense. But there's only so much the guys on the sidelines can do, and it's about how the boys on the pitch actually take that and utilise that and try and get the best out of themselves and each other to essentially get a result that is massively needed today.
Absolutely. And we can take a look, in fact, just how tight things are at the bottom end of the table right now. You can see where we are, of course, currently in 20th on 47 points. But other teams playing today in and around us, we know Birmingham and Huddersfield are facing each other. Sheffield Wednesday, of course. But this is almost unprecedented, just how many teams have been down in amongst those positions for what feels like months now. Can you recall a season where it's been this close?
No, I don't think so. And, often you don't pay too much attention when it's not your team involved. Unfortunately, this time, at this moment, it is our team that are involved in that relegation scrap. And you can see how close it is. There's, 5 teams essentially within 3 points of each other. And, there's some massive games today. It's difficult, I think, because, the high of the Leicester game was so massive, yet other teams around us keep, picking up points as well. So that's why it's so important that today we pick up those 3 points, because you don't want to be reliant on those other sides.
No, absolutely not. And it's not just today, of course. 2 games left for most teams in the division. Let's take a quick look at those run-ins. As we can see, we're away at Millwall, of course. We face Hull, who are vying for a spot in the playoffs themselves at home next week. But elsewhere, as you can see, Birmingham and Huddersfield, they're facing each other today. And particularly Huddersfield got a tricky game against Ipswich on the last day of the season. But maybe just a quick comment on this, Katie, in terms, does this play into our strengths, knowing that we do get to come back here next week? A raised eyebrow from you tells me maybe not.
No, I think it is massive being at home on the last game of the season, and we know what it's like here when the place is full and bouncing, like it was for that Leicester game, and that's what's going to be needed again next weekend. The hope is that we're in a position where things are slightly more comfortable than they are now. And, just looking at those fixtures, other teams have got difficult games. Huddersfield going away to Ipswich. They need something from today, really. Ipswich have got it all to play for to try and get into the automatic promotion spots. I think Birmingham go to Norwich. Difficult game for the last game. So if we can get things done today, get that massive 3 points, it makes everything look a whole lot better, and probably people will be slightly more relaxed on that final game of the season at Home Park next week. For sure. Well, it certainly is tight, but plenty more to come here on Argyle TV as we build up to kick off at 3 p.m. A reminder that match passes can still be purchased ahead of then. Audio match passes, in fact, available from just £2.50. All the details can be found online, pafc.co.uk.
And welcome back, everybody. You are watching the pre-match show here on Argyle TV. It is the final away game of the season for Argyle, with so much still to play for. Over 2,000 fans have made the trip to the Den in South London today to hopefully see Argyle pick up their 4th away win of the season. Wouldn't that be nice? But they are playing a Millwall side assured their safety by beating mid-table Sunderland last weekend. Now, for a lot of our current crop of players, of course, this season has been their first proper taste of Championship football. But for skipper Joe Edwards, at least, well, he's been there before. If you remember, he was up in the Championship over 10 years ago, or just 10 years ago, with Yeovil Town for one season and one season only. But he caught up with us earlier this week with Charlie Price to talk about what has been an eventful season.
It's been a bit of a roller coaster. Like I said, we've had some brilliant days and some not so good ones, but as we expected, probably in this league at this level, it's always going to be tough. But like I said, we've enjoyed large parts of it, and it's been hard work in others. But it's nothing you wouldn't expect at this level and this league. I think it's renowned for being up and down and a bit chaotic at times, and that's how it's felt, really.
Yeah. If you were to pass your mind back over it and pick out particular highlights for you, what would they be?
I think the first game was obviously brilliant, and the atmosphere then, and I said we got a good result as well, so that was fantastic. Obviously the Norwich game was an amazing game, and that felt really good. Even nights like the Rotherham game, and of course the Leicester game was probably the loudest and the best atmosphere I've ever heard here since I've been here. So that Leicester game will live long in the memory for sure. And I'm hoping we've got one more day like it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the Rotherham and Leicester games, because the on-pitch celebrations with the supporters for both of those occasions, I think outwardly said a lot about how the group is feeling and knows how much it means to the supporters as well.
Yeah, I think so. And like I said, it hasn't been easy at times this year. So a result like that was pure emotion, I felt. And like I said, we were here last year when the atmosphere was amazing, and we were going for the league title, and we won the league, and it was brilliant. And I didn't think that could be topped, but that night it was exceptional. Like I said, the noise for the whole 90 minutes at the end was really special, and something, like I said, we're really grateful for. I think it got us over the line in that game, and it's done it before. And like I said, we may need one more of them again, and like I said, there's no better place to do it.
How much is it spoken about amongst the group, the lads?
You can't plan what's going to happen, because you think one thing and it's the complete opposite. I said if we'd have got 7 points for the last 4, maybe lost to Leicester and beat Stoke, and everyone's really positive and looking forward. So we knew the challenge ahead, but like I said, discussing it and building it up, I don't think it's a bad thing. I said that it makes the boys realise the job in hand, and like I said, hopefully we can do it.
Started off this chat by asking you how you thought the season has kind of gone, how you describe it. How will it end?
On a positive note, it'll be, I think I spoke to the lads about it. It's, in football, you get different scenarios in each season, and a promotion is often seen as the biggest achievement. But I think at times like this, when you can stay up in a situation we're in, can often feel just as good, if not better. So the goal was to stay up. We knew it was going to be tough. We've had some bumps in the road, but we're looking forward to end it on a high, and hopefully have a celebration and look back and be proud on what we achieved.
It's been quite the season, hasn't it, for us as supporters, at least, watching Joe and the team fight every week for those wins that we've picked up. Wes, how is this season going to rank in your sort of memories? I mean, what perhaps do you want to pick out from some of the highlights this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been a season of two halves, really, isn't it? I think, before Shuey left in January, 9 times out of 10 it was positive. Obviously it took us a while to pick up a win on the road, but generally speaking, the football was exciting. We were scoring lots of goals. Yes, we might have conceded quite a few, but you score 3, we'll score 4, that kind of thing. So, it was exciting from that aspect. And then, obviously, post-Christmas, things have been slightly more difficult. There's obviously been some massive moments. We were just chatting about a few. The Leicester game is obviously fresh in the memory from a couple of weeks ago, which was a fantastic performance, a fantastic result. Not necessarily a free-flowing, we're in possession, played really good football performance, but that heart and that passion that everyone showed that night. We said about the Adam Randall last-minute winner against Stoke. I think it was a 97th minute winner in the end, which again sent this place wild. And then you think back to the 6-2 win against Norwich again here at Home Park earlier in the season, and there's certainly been some massive highs, which has been amazing. Like you heard Joe say in the VT, the ambition at the start of the season was to make sure we stayed in this league. As that stands, it's still in our hands. That's still achievable. And I think, for the football club, that's obviously massive. And that's where we need to be at next weekend once the season comes to a finish. But yeah, certainly been a lot of highs and lows this season.
Absolutely. And obviously Joe is a player who's, as we said, played at this level before. But for some of our team, it's been their first proper experience of championship level football. How much will they have grown as professionals in the game, having had the benefit of a full season in the championship, irrespective of what happens today and next week?
Yeah, massively. And I think you kind of come to understand the calibre of the players that you're playing against week in, week out. They say the Championship is the toughest league in the world, and we've probably seen that firsthand as this season's gone on. So, I think it's massive for the players to be able to take that experience with them, whether that's going into another Championship season or, worst case scenario, you get relegated and you've got that experience to hopefully get you back out of League One quickly. Fingers crossed that doesn't happen, but the players can use that experience to their advantage, and like you say, we've got a lot of young players here, and it's about how you develop them and how they grow, and if they go on to play for different clubs, then fine, but those ones that are going to stay around here for a while. I think, you just look at maybe Adam Randall as an example. His first taste of Championship experience, at times in games, I think he struggled a bit. But there have been moments where he's shown his quality that he's got. So, again, another player who can really utilise that and push forwards over the next few seasons, or hopefully for the foreseeable future, that he stays here for. Absolutely,
and evidence, if nothing else, we're bringing through real players of quality through the academy, which is always good to see as well from a fan's point of view. Obviously, Whittaker's had a real season to remember, isn't he? Is he your player of the season?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be, isn't he? I think the amount of contributions he's had, in goals and assists, he's probably been the difference between, potentially us staying up or going down this year. With the goal contributions that he's made. I think, his form has obviously dropped off a bit recently. We haven't necessarily seen the best of him. Maybe that's a tactical thing in terms of how we're playing. But I think he's obviously made it into the Championship team of the season, which is a massive credit to him for what he's managed to do. And when you're playing in a side who are potentially struggling and have struggled for goals, yet you're up there in terms of the Championship top scorers, you've obviously done something well. So yeah, I think fair play to Morgan for how he's performed throughout this season, and a lot of what we've done well has been down to him this season.
Absolutely. Wouldn't it be nice if he could notch what I think would be his 20th league goal of the campaign today at the Den?
Yeah, I mean, that would certainly be good, wouldn't it? I'll take any goal today if it's a 1-0 win, wherever it comes from. Long ball from Coops and someone in off the backside or something. I'll take it. So
we'll both take that. I think 89th minute, I don't mind. But look, this Monday will mark a special day in the year. Of course, 1 year ago on Monday, we sealed our promotion to the Championship. But 20 years ago, the class of 2004 were also celebrating winning promotion to the second tier with a remarkable 2-0 win over Queen's Park Ranger here in the sunshine at Home Park. Let's take a look.
Yeah, just a massive buzz around Plymouth. It was a huge game, and again, I don't know. I think as footballers, they're the games you want to play in, right? They're the they're the big money games that I guess you need to turn up for and prove your worth, right? So I guess we was all waiting for that game and waiting for, I guess, kick-off.
With the flick on towards Marino Keith, got the shot in, and Lee Camp doing well to save with his boots. Ainsworth, oh, he's got away from Al Joffrey this time. Ainsworth, oh, so close to an own goal. Paul Connolly it was. Oh, Gareth Ainsworth can hardly believe it.
Very strange emotions for me, because I got sent off at Oldham. I was then suspended. Like I say, Hasney came in and played with Coco, and we won.
For me personally, I got the nod the day before because I'd not played. So Summers kind of took me out of the team, and Bobby pulled me and said, "Look, you're going to start tomorrow." And then the game itself was almost a blur.
The game was tremendous. I remember our energy got us through it. David, Chuck, you know, the cross he's put in for Mickey and stuff. That's just pure energy.
Norris. Well, to get the cross in towards Evans! There it is from Michael Evans! And will that be the goal that takes Plymouth Argyle to Division 1? The whole place has absolutely erupted. Well, it was quick ball for a change. David Norris getting the cross in. There it was, Paul Connolly down the line. David Norris turning, firing in the cross. And Michael Evans tumbling home the header. Plymouth Argyle have the lead. Perhaps, even promotion.
Frio gets the touch. An acrobatic bicycle kick by Hodges. Frio into the challenge again. Hodges, they're all very compact there. Frio, oh, he's going to go through on his own. He's broken in the fans. 2-0. That's it. Argyle are up. David Frio, all of a sudden the ball broke for him, and the new manager embraces Kevin Summerfield below us because they know that Plymouth Argyle are in Division 1. It's Plymouth Argyle 2. Keep it on nil.
And Plymouth Argyle are surely now home and dry. What a finish. And what a way to sign off.
It was just our day. You're not going to lose that game, not with the fans in that day and the way it was. You know, the sun's out and it's a championship, a title decided, wasn't it?
It was just incredible, and I've never had that feeling before because I totally felt part of it myself. I could see everyone, seeing the fans and the players. It just meant so much to everybody. Just everything kind of culminated in one at that game of the whole season. What a day.
What an amazing day, you know, for a manager to come in and win promotion and the league title in his first game. I don't know if that's ever been done, ever anywhere else. I mean, it's such an unusual scenario, isn't it?
There's a lot of luck involved in football, and I think the chance that you end up at a club when something like that happens, when a manager like Paul Sturrock comes along and you get the chance to play in and alongside a team, you know, with the players we had, but the support across that time was you know, incredible as well. So really, it's just one that's, you know, gratitude, and it's, you know, such fond memories. It's so nice that people can talk to you about it, and it's you understand over time. It's almost other people's memories of it start to interact with your own perceptions of it, and it's always amazing to hear how happy, you know, as a team we were able to make people, and the different things that certain people remember across that time, which are always interesting as well.
Some great memories in there, and just thinking back to the kits, we were reminiscing, just seeing some of those highlights. I'm sure that'll be fond memories for Argyle fans watching along here today. But of course, our current crop of players have it all to do away at Millwall. The build-up continues here until 3 o'clock. Remember, a win for us here today and a loss for Sheffield Wednesday would be enough to ensure another season in the Championship for Argyle. You can follow all of the action here on Argyle TV, and I'm not promising it'll be an easy watch, but you won't want to miss a moment of it. So stay tuned.
'Cause every time we touch, I get this feeling, and every time we kiss, I swear I could fly. Can't you feel my heart beat fast? I want this to last. Need you by my side. 'Cause every time we touch, I feel the static, and every time we kiss, I reach for the sky. Can't you hear my heart beat so? I can't let you go. Want you in my life.
Well, standing in their way today, of course, are a Millwall side who secured their own safety after beating Sunderland 1-0 away from home last season. That's 3 wins on the spin. A real upturn in form for them ever since Neil Harris returned to the club, of course, in February for his second stint. Recorded 6 wins in 11. It's impressive form. But Harris says despite securing safety, he won't let his players take their foot off the gas against Argyle today.
Did I envisage being in this position today, sitting comfortably in 16th position in the league with 2 games to go, watching the scrap unfold below us? No, I didn't. Did I hope? Yeah, of course. Did I hope that we'd go into Plymouth at home in a position that we are and we can go out and play with an air of freedom and desire to win a game of football for our fan base? I hoped we would. It's the football club, isn't it? You know, this is what we do. You know, you put the fans through the melting pot for a long period, and then you come out the other side and push on, and and we start again. We beat Southampton away, we beat Leicester at home, we beat Cardiff at home. We're on a good run. You draw with West Brom and should have beat them as well. A really good side, but then you lose to Huddersfield and Rotherham. And again, I'm not saying it's right, but that's what happens. That's what happens at Millwall Football Club. That's what happens in Football League seasons. I knew there'd be ups and downs. It's very clear. I 100% knew that. I've been in this situation before, and highs and lows. What I will say, did I expect to see it? No. I hope to see it, yes. But we've achieved it, and that's the biggest thing. And for me, it's how we've achieved it. It's how the groups responded to the demands. It's how we want to move forward now, or define us as a football club, and an individual member of staff, individual player, how we want to move forward as a group, to try and avoid being in this situation next year, and start thinking again about being certainly a mid-table Championship team comfortably, to push into towards that top 6. But I just want everyone to come to the Den on Saturday. Players, staff, fans, come with a smile on their face, come and enjoy it. But let's be one again. Let's finish this properly. Let's finish it in style. Let's make sure we go out of a bang. Let's not any disappointment coming into the game or after the game. But the players have set their standards playing at home. They've reached the demands. The challenge now is to do it one last time this season.
That was the Millwall boss, Neil Harris, speaking to the press ahead of today's game. Just under 20 minutes to go until kick-off. You can see some of the atmosphere building at the Den. But just to return to some of the things he was saying there, I mean, the dynamic of this game is going to be an interesting one. They've secured their safety, and we were just chatting then. What does that do to the sort of psyche of the team? They've been trying to get their own safety over the line for so long. They've done it. We've still got everything to play for.
Yeah, I think it goes one of two ways. We're either in the mind frame of we've done what we wanted to, we've achieved what we set out to, let's just take the foot off the gas, and nothing matters too much. But on the flip side of that, I think does it, because there's no pressure there, does it allow players to play with a little bit more freedom? Do they try passes, shots from distance that they wouldn't necessarily have done in other games where the pressure's super high? So I think it's difficult to know. It's obviously, time will tell in terms of when we see the Millwall players and how they perform today. But yeah, I think it's one of those that could go either way.
Yeah, well, we saw Morgan Whittaker practicing a few set pieces, attacking set pieces there in some of our pictures, but we know that that is something Millwall are particularly effective at. I think they boast actually the 4th best team record in terms of converting chances, long throws, corners. They're a real threat from this. This is something obviously that Harris has worked on to get this right.
Yeah, I think it's one of those parts of the game that you can try and make predictable. You know, football is very difficult to necessarily predict what is going to happen at times, but you're in control of where you're putting the ball, where your players run when you're attacking set pieces, and they've obviously worked hard at it. They've, like you said, they've boasted a good record in terms of converting those chances that they create from set pieces. So we spoke about the lineups and potentially why Argyle have gone with the bigger guys at the back today, and is it solely to try and combat Millwall's strengths? It may well be, but they're dangerous, and it's certainly an area that we're going to have to be very wary of for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not necessarily pretty, but it's certainly effective when you see teams pull this off. And you suspect this has been something that Dewsnip, Nancekivell have been working on the training ground ahead of this game. Yeah,
and again, another one of those areas that probably Argyle haven't been that good at recently. In recent memory, the Norwich game, we conceded 2 from corners, which ultimately loses you the game. So I think, something that definitely has needed to be worked on, particularly bearing in mind that it's one of Millwall's strengths.
Absolutely. Well, we're getting closer and closer to kick off here on Argyle TV. Our final bit of build-up coming up next. Right then, a little under 15 minutes to go until kick-off at the Den. A huge game, as we've talked about in the league. But let's take a look quickly, shall we, at the team news then for Plymouth Argyle today. And just remind ourselves of how we line up. As we can see, 3 changes from last week's defeat. The big talking point, of course, is the 4 centre-backs we think may well line up in what could be a conventional 4-4-2. Adam Forshaw drops to the bench from last week, as does Ryan Hardy. But maybe just to reflect on the 4-4, the possibility of a 4-4-2. I can't recall the last time I saw us line up like that. Not from the start.
It's been a while, hasn't it? And I think potentially he might be looking at the opposition as well, because I'm pretty sure Millwall will line up in a conventional 4-4-2 as well. So I think it's taken into account what we've got, what our positives are. Can we excel at those things that we know we're good at, but also can we limit them to the way we know they might play. So it's about picking a side. That's what the managers are paid for, essentially, is to pick a team that you think can do a job on any given day. And obviously they've made a couple of changes today. Gives opportunities for other players coming in. We spoke about opportunity for Ben Waine to show what he can do. But ultimately, it's about stopping Millwall from scoring today. If we do that, we pick up at least a point, and that might be enough.
Absolutely. It's all that counts at the moment. But let's take a look then at the opposition. The home side, Millwall, this is how they line up for this afternoon's fixture. As we can see there, a couple of changes from their 1-0 win last week. I think we were half hoping we might see a few youngsters or apprentices given the run out today. Not to be. They have instead brought in some experience in the form of Duncan Watmore, as we reflected. Tom Bradshaw's in there. A familiar face for those from the Pilgrims persuasion. Ryan Leonard, of course, at the back. But you can see the pedigree of the team. 3 wins on the spin. Katie, what are you expecting from Millwall in terms of the start to this match?
Yeah, I think it will be up to Argyle to dictate the start of the game. They've got players who we know will be dangerous. Fleming's their top scorer this season. I think he's got 7 goals for them. So he's a player that can potentially cause problems. He maybe has played a little bit higher than he normally would do. He often kind of plays a little bit deeper, but has played as one of a front two. Often with Obafemi, he's obviously dropped to the bench today. But like we said, Duncan Watmore comes in, who's a really experienced player. We know, again, can cause Argyle problems. So, they've got threats of their own that we need to be wary of. But I think if Argyle can really go out there and grab this game by the scruff of the neck and get in front, it gives us a real good chance of getting something out of the game.
Absolutely. And we talked about Millwall's effectiveness from set pieces. The fact that we have brought in players like Ashley Phillips, we've got Dan Scars, the 4th centre-back. Could that actually be something we could look to exploit? If we nick a corner or a long throw-in, that could be something that benefits us just as much as we know it can benefit a Millwall team.
Yeah, and I think, again, another area probably where Argyle have underperformed this season in terms of how effective we've been from creating goal-scoring opportunities and obviously ultimately sticking the ball in the back of the net from set pieces. It's definitely an area that I think we should be better at. Especially when you think about the players that are on the pitch. Dan Scar has certainly made us look slightly more dangerous, but you look at Ashley Phillips. Yes, he's 18, but he's a big guy, and he should be a threat going forwards from set pieces. So I definitely think it's an area that we should and could have done better at this season. So if we can get a couple from set pieces in the last 2 games of the season, then we'll certainly take it. But an area that we can certainly improve on.
Absolutely. And you mentioned just then, the importance of not losing today's game. I think we can all agree with that. Even said if we take a point, we'll take that into the final game against Hull. So my question to you really, Katie, is this a must-win or a must-not lose?
I think it's definitely a must-not lose.
Yeah.
Do not lose the game. You get 3 points out of today, and next week becomes much less tense, much less nervy. But, ultimately we need to make sure we don't lose the game today. If you do, potentially by the 5 o'clock today, you could find yourself in the bottom 3. For me, it would be so disappointing having spent the whole season not in the bottom 3, that you get to this crux end of the season and then you're in where you don't want to be. If you're in the bottom 3 going into the last game of the season, you're relying on other teams not picking up points and you having to win. So I think it's a tricky one today. Obviously the pressure is so high on the players today. They know that they've got to go and perform. In moments where we've had that throughout the season, we haven't always performed very well. We know these players can perform under pressure. They did it last season. There were massive games towards the end of the season. Obviously, the stakes were slightly higher in terms of playing for promotion, but we know they've got it in them to perform when they need to. So, fingers crossed that a performance comes together today and we can really show what we're about and show our credentials for staying in the Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's take a look, shall we, at some of the other games today in the Championship. We've mentioned the various permutations. I think we've got a calculator to hand to try and stay across all of this for you today. But a couple of fixtures, maybe perhaps to highlight from the list there as you see it. Huddersfield Town versus Birmingham City of interest for obvious reasons. But elsewhere we can see Millwall home to us, Norwich play Swansea City, and I think elsewhere we're seeing Sheffield Wednesday at home to West Bromwich Albion. That and the other game between Huddersfield and Birmingham, probably the 2 of most relevance for us. But let's not forget Hull City, the late kickoff tonight, who we play next week. So that's how the teams and games look this afternoon. As I say, we will be across everything that we can in terms of those permutations and find out exactly how it's all going to shake out. The most important thing is Argyle get a win. Wouldn't that be great? So much more to look forward to this afternoon on Argyle TV. We're going to hand you over very shortly to the commentary team for today. A reminder, match passes still available. If you haven't quite got yours yet, you do not want to miss the action at the Den. Audio match passes for those of you based here in the UK, available from just £2.50. Details on the website. But standing by, your Radio Devon commentary team, Alan Seabrook and Mark Gritton, will have all of the commentary for you today from the Den, Millwall versus Argyle.